Welcome to Let's Talk Sports. And I want to do something each week where in one video, it may be a Thursday, it may be a Friday. It just really depends on how I want to do it and when I want to upload the video. I want to go through the news of the week and just discuss it, give you what, obviously what the news is, and then discuss and give my opinions on each piece of news. So let's get into it. The first bit of news that I have is the NFL, for some reason, is still doubling down on their taunting rule. And I love Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest coaches of all time, to never have a losing season, to always get the best out of his players, to always somehow win games, even if it is finishing the season 8-8. He's a great football coach. He needs to leave the competition committee. And the fact that the NFL put out a video on Twitter doubling down on their officiating call. Props to the NFL for sticking to their guns, but it's stupid. There is no reason to double down on it. There is not. I don't know a single soul. I know very few that are happy with the call that they called on Cassius Marsh on that game and the Steelers-Bears game. Very few. And the fact that they're doubling down on it, props to them for doubling down, but it also kind of feels insulting as a fan. Because first of all, they don't clearly define what taunting is. It's kind of like the catch rule. We didn't know what that was for the longest time. But now we don't know what taunting is. Now, apparently there's obviously a difference between taunting and celebrating, because you can celebrate as much as you want with your teammates. You can run to the end zones. You can celebrate the whole 9 yards, fist bump with your teammates. Fine. That we get it. That's not taunting. But the taunting rule seems so inconsistent. And it comes, this week especially, it came at the worst time possible. So the fact that the NFL is doubling down on it doesn't make sense. Because I've seen that video hundreds of times, probably just like everybody else that's listening to this. You've seen the video hundreds of times of Marsh and the taunting. I think it's still a bad call, even after they explained it. First of all, he made the biggest play of the game for the Bears. It was 3rd and 8, gets the sack. Not necessarily on his own volition. It's not really he's not the main reason why they got the sack. It was a coverage sack, whatever. But it was still a huge play in that game. He just got signed off the practice squad. He just came from the Steelers. He's playing his former team and gets the biggest play of the game on them. Of course he's happy. He does that sweet kick. Then he takes a few steps to the sideline. I've seen that video plenty of times. First of all, the Steelers never reacted. Not a single person that played for the Steelers reacted to that play. Not a single one of them. The punter was the nearest one to him, and the punter just walked right on by. Second, Marsh got, I think, to the numbers, or close to the numbers on the sideline, and he had no intention on going anywhere else. And second, and with that, he never said a single word. Not a single word. He went up to there. He made a big play against his former team. He was excited. He took a few steps over there. And now, if they wanted to call taunting on that, I still would have hated it, but at least we knew at that point what taunting was. But then it made it even more confusing, because then Marsh was walking to his sideline. Tony Correnti decided to get in the way, hip check him, and then throw the flag. Some people were saying that he was going for the flag. Fine, whatever. His hand was on his belt. You can make that argument. My thing is if it was truly taunting for him going over to the Steelers sideline like that, why didn't they throw it earlier? Why did they not throw the flag earlier? He had plenty of time. He did the fun little spin kick. But the second he went to the sideline, how? If that's truly taunting and why you called it, why did the flag not come out the second he took his first steps towards the Steelers bench? Why? He didn't say a single word. He didn't make a gesture towards them. He simply walked to the bench, wanted to know his presence was there. He had no intentions on starting a fight. He really didn't. And then for Tony Correnti to hip check him and then throw the flag, that's my biggest issue with it. Some people are just like, oh, that's weird, and they move on from it. No, I don't think that's a big problem. That the refs think they can insert themselves into these games, think they're important, and then the players just have to sit there and be like, well, I can't criticize them because then I'll get a fine. Like, how is that fair to the players? Like, seriously, how is that fair to the players? So I will defend this, that it should not have been taunting, even if the NFL decides to be stupid and double down on their call. And it's taking the fun out of the game. Obviously, if there's something that happens in the game that, some might see that can cause a fight to happen. We don't want that. I mean, leave that to hockey. Hockey is its own sport. Hockey is fun to watch. Leave it to them. Obviously, the NFL, I like a little showboating. I might be in the minority. I think it's kind of cool to, I mean, gestures is one thing. Getting into the face of the opponent, pushing them over, kind of like Jalen Ramsey did, that's fine. That is completely fine. For what, throwing a flag on Jalen Ramsey there, that was closer to taunting, but I think it was more or less an unsportsmanlike conduct, whatever it was. I mean, that one makes sense. But this one didn't. Marsh had no intentions on causing a fight. He really didn't. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to double down. And then in that video, the video was just bad to begin with, because then they were trying to show us videos of why one thing was a flag and one thing wasn't. The Justin Fields hit that Mika Fitzpatrick had on him. They were like, okay, this wasn't a flag because this. And I'm like, dude, nobody's questioning that. We knew that was a clean hit. Justin Fields was a runner. He lowered his head. We knew what that was. We knew that one wasn't a flag. That was just a good physical football play. And that was also kind of insulting that they were showing plays. And it's like, dude, we weren't questioning a single one of these plays. What we're questioning is why Tony Correnti thought he was important enough to insert himself into the game. Now, I hate the way the NFL is structured in another way too, because Marsh had a good point. If he touches the official, he gets ejected from the game. Now, obviously, this didn't happen in this game, but if he actually made contact intentionally with the official, he'd get ejected from that game. He'd be suspended for one game, and he would also be fined. With Tony Correnti's luck, he will be regular. With Tony Correnti's luck, he'll just have to call Jags games for the rest of the year as his punishment. Like, the rules are just I don't like this situation at all. I don't think Marsh had any malintent other than to be like, hey, I made the biggest play of the entire game. Like, I think these officials have no grasp on when it is and what importance a play has in a game. And to that point, that was the biggest play of the entire game. A 3rd and 8 gets a sack. I have so many problems with that I think this is the last time I'll address it. But it feels really insulting that the NFL would double down on something like this. When the fans hate it, the players hate it, and it seems like the only people that really like it are the league office and the head coaches and the owners, because they want to make themselves look good. Guess what, guys? You're not the important ones. The people that we watch are on the field. And it's not the zebras. It's the players. We root for them. The only reason why we know Tony Correnti's name is because he decided to be a jackass on live TV. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. That was the first bit of news that we have this week. And then we also have I think a really intriguing thing. I made a separate video on this when it first happened, but Cam Newton signed a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Panthers. And I could be wrong. I have no say. I have no knowledge of when a player signs this big of a contract, but maybe this means that Sam Darnold's time in Carolina is done. He's been bad this year. He's been awful. I think his time as a starting quarterback's done. I mentioned that in the other video. But I've said this on Twitter. I said it in the other one. I'm excited to see what Cam Newton can do with Matt Rule. And I think Christian McCaffrey is healthy and he's able to finally play. I could be wrong. I hope he didn't get injured last week. But just to see that Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, that I'm very, very interested in that duo. I really am. That'll be a lot of fun. And Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, they'll probably get some more plays because Sam Darnold's not their quarterback. So yeah, Cam Newton signs with the Carolina Panthers. Just a bit of injury news. Randy Gregory is out for the Cowboys for a foreseeable future with a calf injury, which really sucks for that team. And I really hate it for them because their defense cannot take any hits injury-wise, because their defense really struggled when they were fairly healthy last week, and to have that injury, that doesn't help them out very much. And yeah, that defense, they can't afford to lose anybody else. I know it's just one player, but they cannot afford to lose anybody else. Next is the OBJ situation. He's taking his time for some reason. Me personally, it kind of deflates the situation. We were sitting here all week, me specifically, because I wanted to make a video, give my opinion on it. When the news breaks, I'll still make a separate one-off video for it. But it kind of, to me, just takes away the hype of the moment. Maybe he's not getting what he wants money-wise. Maybe the opportunity isn't what he wants it to be. I mean, if really, for me, there's maybe 4 teams. You have the Chiefs, Packers, Saints, and Patriots I think would be good places for him to go. I mean, I don't know why he's waiting to make the decision, because he said he wanted to see after this weekend, which I don't see why he needs to wait, because he already knows what each of these teams are. He already knows that each of these teams are obviously interested in him. He just needs to pick a spot where he thinks he has the best interest and best chance of winning. So him waiting just to me makes no sense. But yet again, I'm not an NFL player. I don't know what he's waiting for. But you would think that he would want to get ahead of the step or ahead of the road, sign with one of these teams and help them win now instead of waiting, and then a chance of all 4 of those teams losing this week and then just having nowhere to go after that. Because if he's just waiting to see how they do this weekend, if you want my opinion on each of them, the Chiefs, that they badly need a wide receiver too. If Odell is willing to be a wide receiver too, I think that would be if he's willing to do that, I think that would be a fantastic fit for the Chiefs. If we're talking the Saints, I personally don't like it. I mean, I know he wants to go home, but to New Orleans and Louisiana specifically, but I don't like that. I don't like the quarterback situation. I don't think that's a good spot for him. You look at the Packers, they desperately need a wide receiver too. And just how good Aaron Rodgers is at getting the ball out, getting his to his receivers, even the ones that are mediocre. I think that's a solid fit. And I think the Patriots, they need a wide receiver one in general. Mac Jones obviously is going to be a system quarterback, a game manager. Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, they'll put him in the situation where he needs to do to succeed. So, I mean, I think all these fits, they're all have legit reasons. The one I dislike the most is the Saints, for me personally. But I think the other three Chiefs, Packers, Patriots have legit, I think, reasons why. Because I think, Odell hasn't necessarily been a distraction recently. He kind of left those in the New York days, maybe early on in Cleveland, but he hasn't really been a distraction recently. So, whatever team he goes to, I think he'll be a good fit. And I think, his production may not be as high as it was his first 3 years in the league, but I still think he has value on whatever team he goes to. And on the final bit of news, we have David Bakhtiari. I think he's off of IR finally, or the PUP list, whichever one he was on. I think it was the PUP list, the PUP list. So he's back. Hopefully he plays this weekend against the Seahawks. That'll definitely help out their offensive line, which struggled last week against the Chiefs. And then to see Russell Wilson back, and then hopefully see Aaron Rodgers play, that will make that game fun. So that's the news that I found the most interesting this week, and I wanted to discuss the most. Tell me what you guys see of this news below. Give me any other news that I could have discussed. Give me your thoughts on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next one.